Welcome Senator Feeney and Chair Decker testifying on the bills that they filed. And my dear colleagues, at your approach, I just want to let you know that there has been many favorable supportive testimony prior to you coming. So you are in good hands and good company with many individuals and organizations that appreciate your efforts, as do we. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Chairman McMurtry, Chair Oliver. Representative, would you like me to kick off?
Sure.
Lead off? All right.
It's unusual, but I would prefer to. In this case, I'm happy to.
Wow, we're making history today. Thank you, Chair McMurtry, Chair Oliver, members of the committee, to all who have previously testified. As you know, my name is State Senator Paul Feeney. I represent the Bristol and Norfolk District. Mr. Chairman, it's great to be here with you today to testify on behalf of Senate Bill 1327, as well as a companion piece filed by my friend and colleague, Representative Marjorie Decker. Today, we find ourselves at an inflection point. This is a time when our federal government has turned its back on working people and has set clear intentions on attacking the rights of organized labor, which have been a tenet of our democracy since 1935. Private sector labor rights are established under the Federal National Labor Relations Act, which you heard this morning, essentially preempting much of state labor law across this country. The protections granted to workers are enforced by the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, which has tirelessly fought through many administrations, maybe not the current one, to ensure that workers in the United States get the wages, benefits, and working conditions that they bargained for. If the NLRA or NLRB falls or is otherwise dismantled, whether that is through a Supreme Court decision or executive decree, there will be almost no statutory protections for private sector union organizing or activity here in the Commonwealth. Project 2025, which you've heard about this morning, which has been embraced by the President of the United States and many members of Congress, calls for allowing employees to get rid of a union in the middle of a contract. It calls for making it easier to deter unions from forming. It calls for retaliating against employees who talk to their colleagues about organizing and joining together. It claims that employers should no longer be allowed to voluntarily recognize unions. Project 2025 is real, Mr. Chairman, and its intended goal of ending organized labor has already begun. You know that my style is pragmatic in this building. I don't mean to have this chicken little mentality, chairs and members of this committee, but this is real. Since taking office, President Trump has created the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, being run by an unelected, non-Senate confirmed anti-union tech billionaire, and fired tens of thousands of federal workers disregarding union contracts. He's fired Gwen Wilcox, the acting chair of the National Labor Relations Board, signed an executive order to end the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, FMCS, which is designed to settle difficult labor disputes. I know, I've been there in my career. Hired Crystal Carey to be the NLRB's general counsel. Ms. Carey represents notable anti-union employers such as Amazon, SpaceX, and Tesla. And he's encouraged union members to not pay dues, sabotaging labor unions. The bill that we are here today to testify on, chairs and members of the committee, enshrines key provisions of the NLRA into Massachusetts law, as well as establishing additional safeguards for organized labor. There are a host of provisions which I know you have heard about this morning. To save time, I won't get into them. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. But, chairs, the urgency of this bill cannot be overstated. We cannot wait for the crisis to hit and jeopardize the labor rights of hundreds of thousands of workers, our constituents, our neighbors, our community members here in Massachusetts. Recent federal actions, including 2025 executive orders, have stripped over 1 million federal employees of their bargaining rights. That signals a clear threat to labor protections, including right here in Massachusetts. We must act to fill these gaps. Just as this committee led last year and our legislature led in passing the 2024 Wage Equity Act to close wage gaps, this bill positions our Commonwealth as a national leader in workers' rights. Mr. Chairman, as public officials on the right side of history, we absolutely stand at a crossroads. If we value the middle class and rebuilding the middle class and believe in hope and opportunity for working families across this country, then we would be wise to protect them from an anti-worker president who is supported by sycophants in big tech and greedy corporations. would be wise to support their unions, to protect them and their families. To clearly state that here in Massachusetts, a worker's ability to come together, to join together, to collectively bargain for wages, hours, benefits, and working conditions is sacrosanct, and it's just good, smart public policy. It's who we are. It's who we should be. Proudly and without apology and without waiver, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time that you two chairs and the members of this committee put into many of the bills facing this committee. I look forward to working with you throughout this session to pass a lot of the bills that you've heard about today and over the recent weeks. But I think most importantly, to signal that in Massachusetts, despite the chaos in Washington, D.C., we stand up for working people. We protect working people. We believe in working class values. That's who we are, Mr. Chairman. I know you feel the same way, and I look forward to working with you in the months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair Decker.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair McMurtry, and thank you, Chair Oliveira, and members of the Joint Committee. Thank you for your time today. Could not be more proud to sit here with my colleague and friend, Senator Feeney. We are here to really ask you to please move this bill forward with the urgency that it deserves. This bill, as has been described, and I'll be brief as well, it's a trigger bill. Currently, we do not protect the rights of private sector workers to organize. We rely on federal law to do that. If that is repealed, or if it is struck down, we have hundreds of unions in the state who represent tens of thousands of workers who live in our community who will lose access to not only the right to organize, but they will lose access to good paying jobs with good benefits. It is very clear at this point, 6 months into this administration, Project 2025 is 42% through with undoing all of the social safety nets that we have fought so hard and many of us have benefited from. Personally, my family has benefited from many of those safety nets. It's why I could grow up in public housing, be the first to graduate from high school, have a mom who became a union organizer as a nursing assistant in a nursing home, in spite of working 60 to 65 hours a week prior to the union. We were on food assistance, we were on cash assistance, our child care was subsidized, our housing was subsidized. She still worked 60 to 70 hours a week, and yet we still did not have enough to, never mind thrive, we didn't have enough to survive. We experienced the violence of poverty. It is only because of unions and organized labor in this country that workers have sought any economic security and health care. No corporation on its own, en masse, has provided workers the opportunity to be a part of discussing their value, how much their labor is worth. And it is through that work of organizing and collective bargaining that we have created a far more civil society for people who have jobs that honor their value. Project 2025 is clear. It is to, and not only is it clear that it will union bust, it's also clear that the social safety nets that exist, they do not want to invest in. If only you understand the fiduciary responsibility that we have to protect our constituents and make sure that they have access to good jobs with good wages and good benefits, that is reason enough to understand the importance of passing this trigger law. Should they act? And the question is, why won't they? They've continued at warp speed to do so. This is our meaningful response to our constituents when they ask us, and it's a tough question because we're all struggling with this, how are we as state legislators fighting what is happening to our constituents in the federal government? How are we stopping them from taking away food benefits from people in our community? How are we going to support them when they start taking away our teachers and our paraprofessionals and our custodians in our schools, our systems of health care? 300,000 people in Massachusetts alone are at risk of losing their health care. We cannot substitute dollar for all of the hundreds of millions of dollars that are being taken away from our constituents. But we can pass meaningful laws that allow workers to protect themselves and protect the right to organize. It is labor that has given us the most meaningful tools, policies, and wages to reduce poverty in our communities. And we have the chance to ensure that workers in our community can continue doing that if we pass this bill that will only become a trigger if, in fact, they act on what they've told us they're going to. And so I thank you for your time. for your attention and your urgency to this bill today.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Senator Feeney, and I just want to echo the sentiments in your opening remarks about the pride you have sitting next to Senator Feeney. As chair of the committee, I'm proud to serve with both of you, and I want to have labor leaders take note. There are no greater leaders and advocates than Senator Feeney and Chair Decker for matters that are important to this legislature, to the Commonwealth, and to labor unions across the Commonwealth. So thank you for being here in person to testify. I know you have busy schedules. Certainly grateful, and I know many of the people in this room are as well. Do any members of the committee have questions or comments for our colleagues? Respecting your limited time, we're going to let you move on, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you.